Welcome, and thank you for joining me. Today, I'll share with you one of the most inspiring, emotional, and powerful life stories of our era. This isn't merely one man's tale. It's a chronicle of dreams and struggles, of pain and hope, of relentless hard work, rejection, unwavering belief, and ultimate victory. It's the story of a boy born in a modest Indian home with scarce money, no mobile phone, no laptop, and at times, not even a proper chair for his studies. Yet today, he stands as one of the world's most influential CEOs. He is the man at the helm of Google and Alphabet, two of the globe's most impactful companies. This is the story of Sundar Pichai. Many people dream, yet only a select few transform those dreams into reality. Many aspire to success, but very few possess the patience, humility, and courage to traverse the long, arduous path to greatness. Sundar Pichai's story serves as proof that one doesn't need to be born into wealth to achieve success. You don't need expensive attire or luxury possessions. What you truly require is a fervent desire to learn, an unyielding attitude, and a humble heart. So, if you find yourself struggling in life, if you feel on the verge of giving up, if you perceive the world as unfair, then this story is for you. Listen attentively until the very end, because this might just be the most significant video you watch today. This is more than just a biography. It's a guide, a lesson, a beacon of light for anyone navigating through darkness. This narrative is also ideal for those learning English, as it's presented simply, is deeply inspiring, and is filled with real-life lessons. As we journey through Sundar Pichai's life, you'll encounter everyday words and phrases that are easy to grasp, yet profoundly powerful. You'll learn how to articulate challenges, success, and motivation, all in straightforward English. Furthermore, the story will enhance your listening skills while keeping you captivated by a genuinely exciting life account. So, not only will you find inspiration, but you'll also be improving your English with every step. Let's journey back to 1972 to a bustling, noisy city named Madurai in the southern region of India. In this city, on June 10, 1972, a boy named Pichai. The world today knows him as Sundar Pichai. His father, Raghunatha Pichai, was an electrical engineer who toiled daily at a British company called GEC. He repaired electrical components, worked with circuits and designs, and strove to provide his family with a better future. His mother, Lakshmi, was a stenographer, someone who types and writes shorthand, but she resigned from her job to dedicate herself full-time to her children's care. Now, picture this. Sundar's home had no television, no refrigerator, and they resided in a small two-room apartment in Ashok Nagar, Chennai, then known as. One room served as a living area during the day, and by night, it transformed into the bedroom for the entire family. They didn't own a car. A scooter was their means of transport for any journey. There was only a single fan, and during summer, the house would become exceedingly hot, yet they never complained. They were content, simple people. Sundar shared his room with his younger brother. Occasionally, relatives would also come to stay in the same cramped house. The space was limited, but the dreams nurtured within that small house were boundless. Sundar's childhood was brimming with questions. He was perpetually curious. He yearned to understand how things functioned, how a telephone worked, how electricity traveled, how machines were constructed. He posed numerous questions to his father, who always answered with patience. This was where Sundar first grasped the value of knowledge and learning. Every evening, his father would return from work and discuss with Sundar his day at the factory. Sundar listened intently. He didn't comprehend everything, but he began to think like an engineer. He learned that behind every great achievement in the world lie hard work, discipline, and design. Now, listen to this compelling detail. They acquired a telephone at home only when Sundar was 12 years old. It was a basic rotary phone. You had to turn the dial to call someone. And here's something truly surprising. Sundar possessed a photographic memory. He could recall every single phone number he dialed, even after calling it just once. That was the initial moment his family realized Sundar was special. Despite his high intelligence, Sundar was never proud or arrogant. He was quiet, polite, and shy. He was the type of boy who would sit at the back of the class but consistently achieve the highest marks. He studied at Jawahar Vidyalaya, a school that was neither fancy nor elite, but it boasted good teachers. Sundar loved mathematics and science. He relished solving problems. He wasn't someone who learned merely to pass exams. He learned because he genuinely enjoyed the process of learning. Now, you might ask, did he have tuition or expensive books? No. He studied with the resources he had, often borrowing books from others. He worked harder than most students and never squandered time. As he grew older, he attended a school called Vanavani, located within the IIT Madras campus. There, he observed brilliant students and professors, and he began to dream. One day, I too want to attend a prestigious college. But dreams alone are insufficient. They must be pursued with effort. After years of arduous work and sleepless nights, Sundar Pichai finally made his parents proud by securing admission to IIT, one of India's premier engineering colleges. This was a monumental moment, not just for him, but for his entire family. Imagine this, a young, shy, and humble boy, hailing from a small house with no air conditioner, no computer, and very little money, now stepping into one of the country's most respected institutions. It was a new world for him. Large classrooms, brilliant minds, competitive students, and highly experienced professors. But here's something crucial to understand. Even after gaining admission, life didn't become easier. In fact, it grew even more challenging. Sundar chose to study Now, you might wonder, why metallurgy? Why not computer science? The truth is, Sundar was not from a wealthy family. He knew little about computers at that time. Indeed, during his early days at IIT, he had never even touched a real computer. But he was curious. He listened. He observed. He began learning about programming and coding in his own time. He read books that others overlooked. He would spend hours in the computer labs watching how things operated. At IIT, he encountered students from big cities, affluent families, and modern schools. They had better clothes, more confidence, and stronger English skills. Sundar, in comparison, was soft-spoken, and his English was still developing. Did he feel inadequate? Yes. Did he give up? Never. He didn't speak much, but he listened more intently than anyone. He wasn't loud, but his thoughts were sharp. He didn't try to compete with others. He strived to compete with himself. Sundar worked silently. While others might be wasting time partying, Sundar was engrossed in books, solving problems, and thinking deeply. He never sought to show off. He was singularly focused on growth. His professors noticed his talent. They perceived that Sundar possessed something special, a calm mind and profound intelligence. One professor even remarked, "Sundar Pichai is one of the most promising students I've ever encountered." During his final year at IIT, Sundar applied for a scholarship to study in the United States of America. His dream was to pursue a master's degree from a top university abroad. He applied to Stanford University, one of the world's best, and guess what? He was selected. But now came the most significant hurdle: money. The flight ticket from India to the USA cost nearly $1,000 at that time, which was more than his father's entire annual salary. Just imagine the predicament. No credit cards, no sponsors, no internet banking, no online fundraising. Just one ordinary Indian family trying to support their son's dream. What do you think transpired? His father didn't hesitate. He took out a loan, used all his savings, and borrowed money from relatives because he believed, if I invest in my son's education, it will change his life. That is what great parents do. They sacrifice everything for their children. So, one day, with a single suitcase, a heart brimming with hope, and tears in his mother's eyes, Sundar Pichai took his first ever flight from Chennai to California. He was venturing to a country he had never seen, a culture he didn't understand, and a life entirely different from what he had known. When Sundar arrived at Stanford University, he was taken aback. Everything was so different. The people, the food, the buildings, the teaching style, even the silence in the libraries. In India, he was accustomed to crowded streets and noisy classrooms. In America, students walked with headphones, drank coffee during lectures, and fearlessly posed tough questions to professors. Initially, Sundar felt like an outsider. He didn't understand many things. People spoke English rapidly. He missed Indian food. He missed his family. He missed home. And do you know what he did when he first encountered a computer with internet access at Stanford? He simply stared at it, unable to believe such technology existed. In his early life, he had no access to the internet. But here at Stanford, he had 24/7 access to modern computers, labs, and world-class professors. He knew this was his chance. So, he studied day and night. He asked questions. He made notes. He sat in the front row. He learned everything from programming to networking to computer systems. While other students partied, Sundar worked silently. And slowly, something began to shift. He started to understand the American system. He made new friends. His English improved. His confidence grew. And he never forgot who he was or where he came from. Even with very little money, Sundar would meticulously save his small student stipend. Once he couldn't afford a backpack he liked because it was too expensive, so he waited, worked part-time, and bought it later, knowing that every dollar counted. After completing his master's in material sciences and engineering from Stanford, Sundar had numerous options. He could have returned to India. He could have joined a regular company. But he aspired to go higher. He wanted to work in Silicon Valley, the hub where tech legends live and work. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Intel, Facebook call were born there. But securing a job in Silicon Valley was not easy. Sundar first worked for a few companies. He joined Applied Material. Then he pursued an MBA from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. At Wharton, he was named a Siebel Scholar and a Palmer Scholar titles awarded to the top students of the class. Now, envision this. A boy who didn't own a phone until he was 12. Now standing in classrooms where future billionaires and CEOs studied. And still, he remained humble. This is what set Sundar apart. He never forgot his roots. Sundar Pichai now stood at the threshold of Silicon Valley's most influential companies. His qualifications were excellent. A master's in engineering from Stanford, an MBA from Wharton with top honors, and real-world experience at companies like Applied Materials and McKinsey. Yet, he carried something in his heart that many others lacked. Hunger. A hunger to build, to learn, and to create something beneficial for the world. It was the year 2004, and Sundar had just applied for a job at a burgeoning tech company called Google. At that time, Google was already known for its search engine, but it wasn't the behemoth it is today. They had fewer products, fewer employees, and fewer offices. Sundar was unaware that this single interview would alter the course of his entire life. He prepared diligently. He studied computer systems, logic problems, and case studies. He knew he wasn't a typical programmer, but what he possessed was clarity, strategic thinking, and the ability to understand user needs. On the day of the interview, he entered Google's office, which was not particularly flashy at the time. He was calm, focused. They presented him with technical problems. He solved them logically. They asked him product questions. He offered unique insights. They inquired, "What would you improve about Google?" He responded, "Let's make the homepage simpler. Let's build tools around the search engine. Let's think beyond." He didn't say what they wanted to hear. He said what he genuinely believed, and that impressed everyone. Sundar got the job. He joined as a product manager. You also think, solve problems, and plan the product's future. And this role was perfectly suited for him. When Sundar joined Google, he was quiet. Other managers were often loud and assertive, sometimes with big egos, speaking in meetings to display their influence. Sundar, however, spoke only when necessary. But when he did, people listened. He was assigned a seemingly simple task: work on Google's search toolbar, the small bar that allows you to search Google from your browser without opening the main page. It wasn't a glamorous job. Few considered it important, but Sundar saw its future potential. He realized that if people used Google directly from their browser, they would gradually stop using other search engines. Google would become faster, easier, and more intuitive. So he worked day and night to enhance the toolbar. He studied user search patterns, the speed of results, and what contributed to a smooth experience. He focused on user behavior, what people truly wanted, not just what engineers aimed to build. He improved the toolbar until it became a significant factor in Google's early success. While working, Sundar identified a major problem. Most people were using Microsoft's Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox to browse the internet. But these browsers were often slow, clunky, and prone to bugs. He thought, why not build our own browser? This was a considerable risk. Google was a search company, not a browser company. Building a browser would take years, and many senior leaders deemed it a poor idea. But Sundar believed in speed, simplicity, and control. He argued, if we control the browser, we can improve the entire user experience. And if we don't build it, someone else will. Still, no one was initially ready to fund his idea. So, what did he do? He persisted. He made presentations. He showed prototypes. He convinced team members one by one. He assembled a small team and began development in secret. Finally, Larry Page, Google's co-founder, believed in him and said, let's go for it. That project became Google Chrome. When Chrome launched in 2008, it was clean, fast, and user-friendly. People loved it. Within a few years, Google Chrome became the world's #1 browser, and this single product propelled Sundar Pichai to stardom within Google. Why? Because he had a clear vision, built a strong team, took a significant risk, and most importantly, prioritized the user. He didn't build Chrome to become famous. He built it to solve a real problem. And that's what true leaders do. After Chrome, Sundar didn't rest on his laurels. He worked on Google Drive, Gmail enhancements, Google Maps, and Android. He later assumed full leadership of Android. Each time, he led his team with humility. He wasn't bossy. He listened to others and allowed for disagreement, fostering a culture of respect. A colleague once said, Sundar makes you feel smart, even if he's the smartest person in the room. He was not a micromanager. He gave people space, but always posed one critical question. How does this help the user? That's why his projects were consistently successful, because he focused on people, not just technology. It was August 10th, 2015, a typical Monday. Sundar walked into the office as usual. But this time, something momentous occurred. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, announced that Sundar Pichai would become the new CEO of Google. The entire tech world was surprised, but those inside Google were not. They knew this day would come because Sundar was not just an engineer. He was a visionary, a thinker, a leader, a problem solver, and most importantly, a kind and respectful human being. Consider this. The boy who grew up in a 2-room apartment in Chennai, who stood in lines to use a phone, who lacked access to a computer until he came to the US, was now in charge of a company that influences the internet for billions of people. This was no longer a dream. This was reality. But with great power comes great pressure. And that's what this next phase is about. Sundar walked into the office on his first day as CEO without bodyguards, without fanfare, without a dramatic press conference, no grand speech, no loud pronouncements, just a warm smile, a quiet presence, a confident stride. He stepped into a room full of Google's top executives. He didn't begin by discussing profits or numbers. He simply asked, what's best for our users? What can we do that truly helps the world? This exemplified the kind of leader he was: simple, thoughtful, user-focused, and profoundly human. Being CEO of Google isn't like running a small company. It's more akin to being a global leader. Why? Because Google touches billions of lives daily through search, YouTube, Gmail, Maps, and Android. It impacts millions of businesses through advertising and cloud services, and influences governments and schools through data, privacy, and regulations. Every single decision Sundar made would be scrutinized, judged, and discussed globally. If he made a mistake, it would be headline news. If he fired someone, it would trend on social media. If he launched a new product, the entire tech world would dissect it. So, how did he handle such immense pressure? Calmly, softly, powerfully. He didn't panic. He didn't engage in politics. He didn't attack critics. He did what he always did. He listened, thought deeply, and then spoke with clarity. Soon after Sundar became CEO of Google, another monumental change occurred. Google's co-founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, decided to step back and create a new parent company called Alphabet Inc. This holding company would own Google, YouTube, DeepMind, Waymo, and other ambitious projects. And guess why? In December 2019, Sundar Pichai was appointed CEO of Alphabet as well. Yes, now Sundar was responsible not just for Google, but for YouTube, Google Cloud, Google Search, self-driven cars, artificial intelligence, and many other futuristic ventures. It was like captaining 10 massive ships simultaneously, each with its own engine, team, and mission. Still, he didn't panic. He led with strategy, with attentive listening, with balance. Being a tech CEO means you're not only dealing with engineers and products, you're also navigating relationships with governments, courts, activists, the public, and politics. Here are some of the major storms Sundar faced and how he navigated them. The U.S. Congress hearings in 2018, Sundar Pichai was summoned to testify before the United States Congress. Why? Lawmakers were concerned about user data privacy, potential political bias in search results, and monopoly concerns whether Google had become too powerful. It was a tense moment. Powerful politicians sat across from him. Cameras were rolling live. Every word he uttered could become global news. But Sundar sat calmly. He explained Google's technology in simple terms. He made complex systems sound human and understandable. He reiterated one core message: we do not manually control search results. We use algorithms, and our focus is to provide the most relevant results. He didn't argue. He didn't lose his composure. He simply educated. This moment demonstrated something powerful to the world. Sundar Pichai was not just a tech expert. He was a communicator, a global leader, and a voice of reason in a turbulent world. The employee protests. Even within Google, not everything was perfect. Employees protested certain military contracts. Some were upset about pay disparities and a lack of diversity. Tensions arose around the ethical use of it. Sundar didn't shy away from these problems. He held town halls where employees could ask tough questions directly. He listened, he responded, he made changes. He didn't try to be a boss. He tried to be a listener, a bridge, and a problem solver. While all this was unfolding, Sundar didn't cease focusing on innovation. Under his leadership, Google invested heavily in artificial intelligence, applying it to translation, health maps, search, and more. Google Cloud became a major enterprise, helping companies worldwide manage data and grow. Android continued to improve, becoming the most widely used mobile operating system globally. Google Pixel phones were launched and refined. He wasn't just maintaining old products. He was actively creating the future. With so much power, it's easy to forget one's origins, but Sundar didn't. Even today, he engages with students from India and around the world. He gives speeches encouraging children from small towns to dream big. He reminds people that humility, kindness, and curiosity are more important than degrees or titles. In one interview, he stated, Success comes not from where you start, but from how far you're willing to go. This is who he has become. A man who leads billions, influences global decisions, and still lives by simple values. Many people imagine CEOs are constantly working, but Sundar understands the truth. Real success includes balance. He is not just a CEO. He is a father, a husband, a friend, a reader, a quiet observer of life. Regarding his family life, Sundar is married to Anjali Patel, the same woman who supported him during his college days in India when he lacked money for phone calls. They have 2 children, and he ensures he spends time with them, no matter how demanding his schedule. As for personal habits, he starts his mornings with tea and a newspaper. He enjoys walking and thinking deeply. He reads books on technology, history, psychology, and human behavior. He doesn't chase luxury. He chases clarity. His hobbies include cricket, watching sports, and occasionally cooking simple Indian dishes with his wife. Friends say he is the same Sundar they knew in college. He hasn't changed. He remains humble, quiet, and brimming with ideas. One of the most inspiring aspects of Sundar is this: he never tries to show off. He wears simple clothes. He speaks softly. He doesn't talk about money or fame. He talks about ideas, innovation, and how to improve people's lives. This is rare in today's world. Most people seek attention. Sundar seeks impact. In one interview, someone asked, "Why don't you act like other billionaires? You live so simply." He smiled and replied, "My goal was never to be rich. My goal was to be useful." Powerful, isn't it? Today, Sundar Pichai is respected worldwide. He has been listed in Time magazine's 100 most influential people multiple times. He is invited to speak at global forums on the future of AI, climate change, and digital freedom. World leaders seek to collaborate with him because he understands not only technology but also humanity. Still, whenever he's praised, he says the same thing. It's not about me. It's about the team. I just had good people around me. Again, humility triumphs. Let's now look at his financial success, as this also demonstrates what's possible when you pursue your passion with discipline. His net worth, as of 2023 estimates, is over 1.5 billion United States dollars. His annual compensation can be around $240 million per year, including bonuses, stocks, and performance rewards. He owns a beautiful, eco-friendly house in Los Altos Hills, California, surrounded by nature. No gold statues or 100 cars, just peace, books, trees, and family. His cars include a Tesla Model S, a BMW 7 Series, and a Range Rover, but he rarely flaunts them. His lifestyle is focused on privacy, peace, and personal growth. He still enjoys cutting chai tea when he visits India. He still reads Tamil newspapers when he finds the time. These are some of Sundar's most powerful and unforgettable quotes. Read them, feel them, internalize them. Wear your failures as a badge of honor. Failure doesn't signify weakness. It signifies growth. A person who is happy is not because everything is right in his life. He is happy because his attitude towards everything in his life is right. Attitude is paramount. As a leader, it is important to not just see your own success, but focus on the success of others. Leadership is about elevating others. Be impatient to learn, but be patient to apply what you learn. Learn swiftly. Apply slowly and wisely. It is important to follow your dreams and heart. Do something that excites you. Passion is the fuel. Let's conclude this powerful journey by reflecting on the timeless lessons from Sundar's life. These are not just words. These are principles to live by if you aspire to rise from humble beginnings to achieve greatness. 1. Your background does not dictate your future. Sundar hailed from a simple Indian family. He had no phone, no car, no funds for overseas study, but he possessed dreams. Where you start is inconsequential. Where you're headed is what truly counts. 2. Be curious like a child, always learning. He cherished learning. Even as CEO, he reads daily, listens to others, and continually upgrades his thinking. Stop mindlessly scrolling. Start actively growing. Replace gossip with growth. Fear with learning. 3. Stay humble, even as you're sick. Sundar never became arrogant. He remained soft-spoken, polite, and grounded. True strength is quiet. Real greatness whispers for. Choose kindness over ego. Even when attacked, he never retaliated. He employed truth, not anger, calm, not chaos. Be kind, even when it's difficult. 5. Success is not merely about money. It's about usefulness. Sundar's objective was never luxury. His goal was to make a difference, and he succeeded. Don't chase money. Chase meaning. 6. Believe in your own journey. He could have surrendered many times when he was poor, when he faced rejection, when people doubted him. But he believed. He persisted. Even if no one else believes in you, you must believe in yourself. Sundar Pichai's story is not just the journey of a tech leader. It's the journey of a human soul who started with nothing and built an empire founded on honesty, humility, and heart. Let his story remind you, you don't need to be born rich. You don't need to speak perfect English. You don't need connections. You need just one thing, a burning fire within you to learn, to grow, and to never stop. No matter how hard life becomes, if this story inspired you, if Sundar Pichai's life touched your heart, if you feel more motivated today, if you believe you too can rise, then perhaps consider subscribing to channels that offer such daily learning. There, you can find stories, learn English, inspire your mind, and receive help to become the best version of yourself. This is not the end. This is your beginning. Go now. Dream, work, grow. You could be the next Sundar Pichai, and the world awaits your story.